You woke up this morning and made 100 decisions before you even realized you were making them. What to wear, how to respond to messages, what version of yourself to bring into the world. Most people assume these decisions come from personality, but what if they don't? What if a surprising amount of who you think you are is actually a collection of adaptations? Adaptations to approval, adaptations to expectations, adaptations to invisible rules you've followed for so long they feel like your own thoughts. And if that's true, how much of your identity actually belongs to you? Because if you don't understand these rules, you may spend your entire life living someone else's version of a good life. Societal norms are strange. They're powerful enough to shape entire lives. Yet most people rarely notice them. Think of them like stage directions in a movie. Nobody tells the actor exactly who to become. The script simply tells them where to stand, when to speak, how to react. Society works the same way. There are unwritten rules for success, rules for relationships, rules for emotions, rules for status, rules for what a respectable life should look like. Nobody hands you a list. You absorb it. The same way fish never notice the water around them, and eventually the script becomes invisible. Look at the traditional roadmap. Go to school, get a stable career, work for decades, retire. There's nothing inherently wrong with that path. The real question is whether you chose it or whether you inherited it. Many people spend years pursuing goals they've never examined. Not because they want them, because they were taught wanting them was normal. Success becomes less about fulfillment and more about conformity. And the dangerous part is that conformity often feels responsible, which makes it difficult to question. The same thing happens socially. Most people learn very early which parts of themselves are acceptable, which emotions get rewarded, which opinions create friction, which behaviors receive approval. Over time, you begin editing yourself, not consciously, automatically. You smile when you're frustrated, stay quiet when you disagree, pretend to enjoy things you don't, hide things that matter. Eventually, you become skilled at managing perceptions. But something gets lost in the process, because every mask hides something underneath it. This creates what many people quietly struggle with, the authenticity gap. The distance between who you are and who you're presenting. At first, the gap is small. A few compromises, a few adjustments, nothing serious. But years later, you wake up feeling disconnected from yourself. Not because you've changed, because you've been adapting for so long that adaptation became your identity. You know how to be who everyone expects, but you've lost contact with who you actually are, and maintaining that distance requires energy. Far more energy than most people realize. This is one reason so many people feel exhausted despite doing everything right. The career is right, the relationship looks right, the lifestyle appears right, yet something feels off. Because the human mind can tolerate effort. What it struggles with is contradiction. Trying to live one life internally while presenting another externally creates friction. That friction becomes anxiety, burnout, restlessness, a constant feeling that something important is missing, even when everything appears fine from the outside. But this doesn't mean societal norms are bad. Without them, society wouldn't function, trust would collapse, cooperation would disappear. Norms create order. The problem isn't that norms exist. The problem is following them unconsciously. Because once you're aware of the script, you gain something powerful. Choice, you can keep the rules that serve you and discard the ones that don't. Awareness creates freedom, not rebellion. Freedom. History reveals something most people overlook. What society considers normal constantly changes. Things that were once celebrated become taboo. Things that were once condemned become accepted. Entire cultures shift. Entire generations change their minds. This reveals an uncomfortable truth. Normal isn't truth. Normal is consensus, and consensus changes, which means many of the rules shaping your identity aren't universal. They're temporary, they're cultural, and they're far more flexible than they appear. If you want to reconnect with yourself, start with a simple exercise. Write down 3 things you do because you genuinely want to. Then write down 3 things you do because you feel obligated. Not legally obligated, psychologically obligated. Because people expect it. Because it's normal. Because you're supposed to. The answers often reveal hidden scripts, and once you see the script, you can begin making conscious edits. Not dramatic changes, small ones. Express an opinion you normally hide. Say no when you mean no. Stop performing interest where none exists. Small acts of honesty slowly rebuild self-trust. So here's the question. If society stopped watching for one day, what would you do differently? What would you wear? What would you say? What would you stop pretending to care about? The answer might reveal more about your identity than years of self analysis, because identity isn't something hidden deep inside you waiting to be found, it's something created. Choice by choice, decision by deciding which norms deserve a place in your life and which ones don't. Most people spend their lives following a script. A smaller number rewrite it. The question is whether you're living your life or simply performing the role you were given. What's one societal norm you've stopped following? And what happened when you did?